How's it going, boys and girls? It's John. It's John. It's the Mixmin podcast. It's your boy. Yeah, so it's that time again. The podcast that no one has looked forward to ever in the history of man, and yet it happens. It keeps rolling. So does the techno. It keeps rolling and rolling. The kick drums are more and more prevalent. They're everywhere. Every downbeat. Not bad. So, I'm working on a new collaboration with Michigan band After Blue. Tom and I got into a little social media back and forth in which he expressed his contentment over the fact that our previous singles grossed about, $8 in there. A couple years of being released. And so I said, hey Tom, why don't we put together another song? So I'm actually helping them to rework one of their older tunes, and it's one that I am pretty excited about, since I like to get into description here. When I heard this tune, I thought it was like halfway there to a drum and bass tune, and I've been sort of intrigued by drum and bass, that genre. I don't quite know its origin story yet. I'm getting there in Dan Sicko's Techno Rebels. The conversation is moving to the UK, so I think that that's about where I can start to see where the drum and bass came from, start to connect the lines, all that good stuff. So looking forward to that. Beyond that, there's this underworld. Oh, pardon me, it's happening again. Hyperventilating. Whew, calm down. There's this underworld remix that I've been working on for Solar System off of their record
100 Days Off.
Not one that a lot of people have remixed, which I'm proud of. Initially, I wanted to cover it just as it was recorded, just so that I'd have something to sing at the Twisted Cork open mic night. And so, as I was putting it together, I was auditioning a few drum loops. One that was maybe from a Loop Masters pack, another one from a friend of mine who had sent me some samples and things that he had made. And I thought, wow, these loops sound way too good to not use. So I chopped them up a little bit just to dictate my own rhythm with them. And I slapped it over the sound design, some of the sound design that I mimicked from the original track, and I recreated it myself. Some nice pads, some warm pads with seventh chord voicings, just kind of droning on, and a nice saw wave bass that sounds every once in a while and has a ping pong delay on the higher frequencies, and it's kind of this all-encompassing thing that dances around your head. And it's very good, and I'm going to put it on YouTube, ideally with some sort of stylized music video, so look out for that. It'll be YouTube and probably SoundCloud only, just because it's not my song technically, but it's my take on their song, so I see no luxury or great return in pushing something as if it was my own when it's not. So, my utmost respect for Underworld. They've been probably my primary inspiration over the past couple of weeks, as I've actually been singing, which is nuts. But I had a string of about 4 performances at the Twisted Cork open mic here in Lexington. Found a little bit of a musical family there, and beyond that, Renee of an organization known as Listen Locally set me up with a brewery in Winchester. And so a couple nights ago, I played at Abiter Brewing in Winchester, Kentucky, and I played for about 8 or 9 lovely, attentive people, which certainly I'm thankful for. It was a small room, so it worked out, and here's to more people next time. But I've been singing I've been singing a little bit of Underworld. I've been singing a little bit of Björk. And my friend Jimmy has been instrumental in sending me, instrumentals that I've requested of him. He actually recreated all of Underworld's Jumbo from scratch, which is nuts. And it's very true to the original recording with some initiatives that he has taken just to kind of enhance it a little bit. And it works out quite well. Most recently, he has pretty much a pile of synthesizers now that he's bought, that he's making nice stuff with. And so I said, hey, look, I have this MIDI that I've been wrestling with. It's actually Björk's Anchor song. And for the life of me, I can't get Native Instruments Massive to sound good on such an intimate and warm and theatrical song. Or should I say cinematic? One of those two. It's all about theater anyway. And so I said, hey, can you have one of your fancy synths take in this MIDI and spit out something that sounds lovely? And so with a little bit of deliberation, we got there. And it's nice. It sounds kind of like what you would hear at a harbor, like a cacophony of ships and whales. Ships and whales. Nothing like it. It was the first working title for Guns N' Roses, but it didn't quite catch on. And so I've been singing some Underworld, being inspired by Underworld. I think that the first season of their Drift series just came to an end, in which they had released new music every Thursday, I think it was. And that's very inspiring. And I feel like I'm finding my voice a little bit. I've always had kind of this punk rock edge to it when I was rehearsed. Only when I was rehearsed, though. Like, I have a spectrum and it goes from lazy bossa nova singer to The Clash or something. And on a good day, I get all the way over to The Clash or something. But yeah, I've been trying to find the power in my voice again. Maybe conjuring some of the things that I learned in Escalante's jazz vocal ensemble at Moorhead, Kentucky. It's been a good thing. It's nice to sing and to feel like you can sing and to have the confidence to actually remember a few songs, retain them in your head. And then it's just then you can really focus on the singing when the lyrics are instilled. And you've been singing the songs for some weeks, then you can really focus on, is my voice doing the things that I want it to do? And, I have a very rudimentary idea of how good vocal execution and technique goes. And it's just the big three that Esco instilled in me, which is posture, breath, and space. Posture having to do with the contour of your back, and are you standing? Are you standing straight? And breath, taking healthy breaths, making sure you have enough air to support your phrases and not being afraid to go all the way to your limit. And, if you have to that wasn't the best end of the phrase, but in a very reserved way, I tried to push out until I didn't have any more breath. And then space being, how widely are you opening your jaw? Is your chin going down far enough for you to, I don't know, not sound like you have a major nasally head voice or what have you? And, all those things combined, and watching enough Maynard James Keenan and just seeing him belt these things out with total disregard to anything that's ever happened in human history, and just being moved by that and moved by how much the music moves him, I find myself thinking about him when I sing in the same way that I think about Aaron Paul when I have a good improv day. So it works out, and I enjoy it quite a bit. I have written at least one original song in this time, and there's somebody who I want to sing on it. There's maybe about a 15% chance they're listening right now, so I think you might know who you are. And I've yet to hear back, so if you're listening, this is your gentle nudge to drop me a text message and say, I'll be right over. Because really, it's only 3 verses. Come on, man. It's 3 verses, and we could knock it out in like 20 minutes. So there's that. But the song is actually difficult for me to sing, and I tried to record it a few weeks ago, and I wasn't happy with the takes. And I think it might be because, like, so the melody that is assigned to it, the vocal melody, it's actually an array of verses, and each verse has a similar melodic contour, but it varies just depending on what I'm saying. And kind of superimposing a major key over the minor bass line, hanging around the 5th and the 6th, so you have that nice I don't know, I have my piano over here, maybe I could I need to go back to solfege. Just that sweet major second, which is alluding to the relative major sound and all that. Major second between the 5th and 6th scale degrees, largely hanging around those. And it's a fun song to sing, and some of my best moments vocally happen during that song. But I think it's because I'm kind of on the track and field and struggling to get over hurdles with it. When I hit it, and it's great. But most of the time, it's still kind of a work in progress. But, maybe that's the way that I learn this song, or maybe this is the way that I get it done, is I go out and sing it for a bit and then come back. But the whole point I was trying to make about the particular notes and things is I find that when I sit down at a piano and I start to visualize the relationship between the notes instead of like this vague melodic sketch that exists in my head, when I replace it with the concrete visual of the piano and the sound of it, it helps me retain what pitch I'm trying to hit when it comes time to sing it. So little things like that. And yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. I could see myself singing a lot more. And I think it's nice because tricks with MIDI controllers and Ableton Live, they sound cool and they're fascinating to somebody who doesn't really know what's going on. It's kind of witch and or warlock magic to those who've never messed around in Ableton, but it can get kind of boring, and I never thought I would admit that. But I found myself employing a lot of the same tricks that I'd used before over the past 4 or 5 years when it comes to live performance, and I just don't want to do those things all the time for the rest of my life. And when I sing, it's more of a concrete, like, display of musicianship. When you're DJing in Ableton, it's more of how did you prepare beforehand, which is fine. But I think that is cool paired with these other things that you might be able to do as an instrumentalist. But I think that that's also unique to me because I started as a bass guitar player. And in that way, I will always be a music performer. So I shouldn't neglect those parts of my musical identity. And it's been good. I'm going to go let my dog in 1 second. Okay, so there aren't a lot of people who listen to this, and I want to share something as if I'm just speaking into the void. I have an idea for a live electronic music performance here in Central Kentucky. So I want this to be an allusion to the beginnings of techno, and I want to perpetuate this music in a way that is true and that is cognizant of its roots. So it'll be Frescobaldi's Dress to Impress, and I'm going to spin some old Detroit records alongside what this city has to offer. I'm going to round up artists from nearby so that they might be able to represent their state or surrounding states. This is all a Midwestern venture. This techno thing, it's about making music with few resources in cities that leave things to be desired. Not that Lexington is the worst in the world. It's just needs a hub. It needs a hub for electronic music performance that isn't Cosmic Charlie's. It needs a hub that will actually pay its electronic performers. It needs a hub that will facilitate them by actually letting them know what the back line is. It needs a hub of those who will stick it out and who support each other in this electronic music thing, because that doesn't exist where I'm at. And I need it for me as much as I need it for the people like me, as much as I need it for this community. So together we can do this, and I thought I'd tell you, just because this is something that's weighing heavily on my mind. In some ways I feel like I'm sort of at the end of my rope, but this is also, it's kind of a dichotomy of feeling, just because this is also a time of great opportunity, and I need to be thankful for that, and I need to pursue these things which I know are important, and I will do so. So look out for that. Oh yeah, so long as I'm speaking to very few. I'm learning Icelandic. So I'm learning Icelandic, and I've been studying for a few weeks. Hrafna, she has some great videos. She has about 4 videos on Icelandic language. That is Hrafna. She's this young woman who has a do-it-yourself style YouTube channel, and she talks about things of the Icelandic nature. She talks about Iceland quite a bit, just kind of informing, illuminating what everyday life is kind of like, and doing away with some of the myths, debunking them, I should say. And it's good fun. I found a good resource. The University of Iceland has some free lessons, which I finally got logged into and that I'm taking. I think my university days are over, but at the same time, this is a great resource. And why Icelandic, you may ask? Well, a few reasons. First, I've never left the country. Second, it is a bucket list item, and I don't have very many of those just because I think the whole bucket list thing is kind of silly, but I really, really want to see the Northern Lights. Yeah, and third, I just like how it sounds, and I thought, why not exercise that, the muscle less exercised. The whole linguistics and learning language is just something that I was sort of on the ball with French, but I think even then I was a little bit too overwhelmed and working hard in my undergraduate to survive that. And I just kind of put it down. But now that feeling is kind of being rekindled, and this is something that's all my own, And it's all my own because I'm sure a few people would say, and who just heard me a few moments ago say I was learning Icelandic, they would probably say, that's a waste of your time. But guess what? It's not, because I don't have a lot of time on this earth. And if I never go to Iceland, I'm going to regret that forever. Well, I might not have time to regret it, especially if I'm dead. But I wouldn't be happy, if I never made it there. Of all places, right? It's like, why would you want to go somewhere that has had that has 6 months of relative darkness and all that? But, well, I have my reasons, and I just can't stay in the States forever. I have to see other things. And Iceland seems strange enough, expensive enough, and impossible enough that it just makes me want to go, all that much more. And also, this is the reason that I hate to admit, but I think that Björk is becoming my favorite artist. And that is also a reason, but don't worry. My intentions are good. I'm not there to see Björk. I'm there to see Iceland, just because I like everything that I've seen of it thus far. Just in the way of videos and articles and posts and things. So I thought, why not do this for myself? It's one of those things where if you raise the water level in one glass of your life, then maybe other parts of it will raise as well. And, I don't really have any business in Iceland, per se. But I figured so long as I'm on this planet, if I want to be anywhere else on this planet, and I can't do that, now that is pathetic, Well, why not just set my sights on something that would get me working in a way that I haven't before, and get me going to a place, even if it's like I lose all my money and it's the coldest 3 days of my life, I can at least come back home and say that I went. I can at least say that I went abroad and did something. So yeah, it may be atypical, for a techno artist who's not making squat and who's about to start a part-time job because he's not making squat. But that's just the way it goes. I know what I value, and one of those things happens to be the Icelandic language. And also, resources to learn it are a little bit scarce. I mean, we have the whole damn internet, so maybe not. But I think relative to the more established languages, it actually kind of is. I don't think that like Rosetta Stone has an Icelandic installation. So thank you so much to the University of Iceland for their free resources, which I've been using. I think I just started using it today, and it's been a lot of fun. Like, I'm actually learning things, and I am happy about that. Did I talk about the musical pipeline for Frescobaldi? I talked about Dress to Impress, Frescobaldi's Dress to Impress night. I may have talked about After Blue, I don't recall. Continuity is kind of weird. I've been letting my dog in and out of the house. Speaking of my dog, I'm going to make a little bit more work for myself here. The dog likes to watch the TV, and to an extent to where I feel a little bit guilty. Excuse me. I feel a little bit guilty because, I don't think it's good when people watch TV. Now I'm making the dog watch TV. But I'm going to show a snippet. I was listening to Burial's Untrue, and anybody who's familiar with that record, the face of that record shows a drawing of a man sitting very introspectively, and with a cup of coffee drawn in front of him. And I feel like my dog was looking right at this picture, which, good boy. At least he has good taste in music. So he's very attentive, and he's very funny. I think at this moment his head is kind of like reclined back in some weird manner, like it's like, this is the best music I've ever heard in my life. And he's just what he's doing right now is he's looking for lights to dance around the walls, because that's how he knows that somebody is driving down the street. Their headlights reflect into the door, which projects into the house at weird angles. And that's how he gets an idea as to what's going on, if like mom is home or what have you. So there's that. And that's got it. So there's the grainy video. His name is Pi, P-I, as in the number. I really wanted to vent about shortcomings, but I don't know if it's really appropriate. It's just, let's just say that I was set up to be facilitated at a local store, and they said yes, and then they said no. So that was a little bit discouraging, especially when I boasted to my immediate friends and family that I was on board. So it's just these little things that you put up with in your hometown. I think it's going to take time to find the real group, to find my real circle. You're the only one who knows what your vision is until it comes to fruition. And there's this good quote, and it's this stupid proverb that has been said probably far too much. Something like, well, the way that I read it in a tweet was, no one wants you until everyone wants you. So even though I feel like I'm making good progress, it's just, this is still largely my responsibility. And I can't get discouraged if someone else doesn't see it right away. I just have to keep working. And in that way, I do feel as if I'm making the best music that I've made thus far. And so I'm kind of waiting for something, which can be a mistake, but I have been poking around with other projects, and I have this Underworld remix in the pipeline, and I want Julian Gray to hear it, of Julian Gray Media. He is an artist on Mousetrap, and I feel like this Underworld remix is the best project that I'm sitting on right now, and I want to see if he takes a liking to any aspect of it. Just I want to have his blessing in a way, even though he might not be completely tuned into my motives. But I just want him to be like, yeah, it's not bad. And then I'll be like, cool, I'm going to release it. So that's the plan. And that's really all I need. I actually ran it by this other guy who just got signed to a label. I forget where, but it's a techno label. And he critiqued my song for me and gave me some pointers. And I actually implemented pretty much all of his pointers. And I do feel like it improved the track. And so the pointers that he implemented had everything to do, it had to do with everything from arrangement to mastering and all that, just because I shoulder all of those things. And so I implemented things like, one big suggestion he had was just push the mix a little bit harder into the limiter just to make sure it comes across as a bit louder. Make sure your kick drum snaps a little bit more. So what I did was I boosted it by just under a decibel in the mids only, and then by a little over a decibel in the highs. And that gave it the sort of snap that I believe he was suggesting it have. He said that I should boost it by about 1 decibel, so what he was suggesting was maybe strictly like a fader boost, but I kind of thought about the sound that he was suggesting, and I made an estimation as to how I could get it in a way where it wouldn't crowd the mix with more sub information. So I just boosted the mids and highs. I threw a multi-band compressor, but I just used it as like a multi-band leveler, if you will, and just boosted the mids and the highs a little bit more. So there's that. This song is sounding quite dandy, and I'm excited to put it on YouTube and all that. Yeah, it's tough out there, but we have to keep going. It's what we do. It's what we do as techno artists. It's what we do as musicians, and it's what we got to do as people. So just keep swimming. There we go. There is the Disney movie references. So pretty sure that's got it. I can't help but feel like there's more, but maybe for next time. So thanks. I'm just like ending this. This is going to take 5 minutes to end. I'm just trying to think of like, if there's anything else at all. I guess not. I'm ending it. So, hey, thanks for listening. I've been John Davis, otherwise known as Frescobaldi, Lexington's premier techno artist. That's just who I am. And I'll speak with you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye. That's what you call out of range. It's all you and me.